to let us know. Capitol News, updates on Congress, the White House, and politics.
Freelance journalist David Axe was embedded with NATO troops in southern Afghanistan in June. He was in the area of Tarin Kowt, where approximately 3,000 NATO troops from Australia and the Netherlands are based.
Tarin Kowt is a city of about 100,000 people in southern Afghanistan, north of Kandahar. It's in an area of the country that's one of the poorest and most sparsely populated in all of Afghanistan, and is considered by the coalition and by local government to be sort of neglected by Kabul. So there's been decades of underinvestment in the province, and as a result, and also as a result of there not being much in the way of NATO forces there for a long time, Tarin Kowt and its vicinity have been historically a Taliban stronghold since the war began in 2001. Tarin Kowt has only about only a few thousand people who live in the city proper, and most of them live outside in small farms. Tarin Kowt lies at the mouth of a valley that sits astride a Taliban supply route that connects Pakistan to Helmand Province, which is further south. Helmand Province is the major opium center in Afghanistan and is responsible for about 90% of the world's opium production, which is the basis for heroin. And that opium is one of the major economic engines for the Taliban and for international terrorism. So controlling Tarin Kowt means controlling the valley, which means controlling that supply line, which means safeguarding the traffic of opium and other illegal goods and people that keep the Taliban resistance and international terrorism going. About a year ago, NATO finally established a major base in the area. It's about 5 miles outside of Tarin Kowt. So Tarin Kowt, the city, lies between this base, which is called Kamp Holland, and the mouth of the valley. Kamp Holland has about 3,000 people at it. There are about 2,000 Dutch, 700 Australians, and a mix of other people. There are actually some small American bases in the area as well, but I believe they're mostly special forces, and they keep kind of a low profile. So since the Dutch and Australians moved in last year, they've been slowly expanding from Kamp Holland, first into Tarin Kowt proper, and then into the outlying areas, including some small villages, and setting up checkpoints and recruiting police and building infrastructure and working with the locals, kind of the ink spot theory that is espoused by the Marines in Iraq, where you start with one little spot that slowly spreads outward, and you sprinkle spots around that major spot, and they eventually spread into one big glob of black, this area that you control. The major military formation at Kamp Holland is a Dutch-led Provincial Reconstruction team. There are 24 of these so-called PRTs in Afghanistan, each one led by one of the contributing nations to either Operation Enduring Freedom or the NATO mission, which is called ISAF, which means International Security Assistance Force. So the Dutch have the one PRT in Tarin Kowt with several hundred Australians contributing. There are two major components of the PRT. The Dutch have the sort of lighter portions of it, like the civil affairs people, the linguists, and the cultural specialists, and the public affairs people who do sort of the softer work of reaching out to locals and doing education projects. The Australians contribute a heavy engineer unit that does road construction, bridge construction, earth moving and building the big stuff. So they have like bulldozers and backhoes and things like that. And then to protect the PRT, there's actually quite a large security force, infantry, armored vehicles, artillery, attack helicopters. There are even fighter jets in nearby Kandahar that can come in to support the PRT. Every PRT is different. If it's a dangerous province, the PRT is going to have a lot of security, like the one in around Tarin Kowt. Some of the PRTs in the safer areas of the country don't have nearly as much the heavy firepower, and are really just a few guys and a truck. In early June, I was embedded at Kamp Holland in TK, in Tarin Kowt, with Dutch forces. And on June 15th, the Dutch handed me off to the Australian engineers to go out into Tarin Kowt and to observe a project to rebuild a soccer field at a boys' school in the city, in downtown. It was UN International Women's Day. So the Dutch had decided to send a delegation of female soldiers, a female journalist, and with a security detail to go meet with some prominent local women at the nearby girls' school adjacent to the boys' school where I was observing this reconstruction project.
It was quite a good morning. We had we had fun. We had laughs with the Afghan women. We also had some well-educated Afghan women speaking, like a doctor, a teacher, high school students. So it was quite a good morning. When we left, we ran out of the street with cars and vehicles, and we took around the corner. And after, I think, maybe 500, half a kilometer, we stuck into a suicide bomber. It hit the first vehicle at the side, and after that there was lots of chaos and noise and smoke, and it was pretty dramatic. The first vehicle got hit. It was a suicide bomber in a car, and one of our guys didn't make it. We had 3 wounded, and at the end the quick reaction force came to get us out of TK.
It trickled in that a suicide bomber in a compact car had rammed the Dutch patrol, the Dutch delegation, as it was leaving the girls' school, and the vehicle rammed the security detail's armored vehicle and exploded, and among the crowd of children, and 4 Dutch soldiers were injured. One of them died on the scene about an hour later as medics were giving him chest compressions, and 11 Afghan children were killed, most of them around 10 years old. As it turned out, the suicide bombing was just the opening salvo in a major Taliban offensive that began in Tarin Kowt and actually spread south to Kandahar.
My name's Cliff, and I'm the platoon commander of the security group that's here to guard the engineers for the task we're on at the moment.
So how do you go about that mission?
Well, first of all, we'll come in and we'll clear of personnel the area that's going to be worked in, and then using engineers we'll clear it of any explosive devices, using dogs and the like to ensure that there's no IEDs lying around. And
then you have patrols that go out too, right?
Yeah, that's right. We start a patrolling program to ensure that we have standoff from any personnel and vehicles that can pose a threat to us. And then we also have our physical security, the use of wire and the like to support our security.
I understand this neighborhood's generally pretty favorable towards ISAF forces and Australian forces, but we did have an incident yesterday. Have you had to reconsider the mission in light of the attack?
No, not really. You're right, TK is generally considered permissive towards ISAF. However, there's always been the reports that the bazaar, which is just over the road here, is what they consider the black market for the Taliban, where they do a lot of their trading of IED stores and the like. And when you're static for too long in any location, you've got to expect that someone's going to have a crack. And yesterday's incident just proves that it's a counterinsurgency environment.
Tarin Kowt is an extremely dangerous place to be doing this kind of reconstruction work. That is the heart of the Dutch and Australian mission in the area. So, unlike provincial reconstruction teams, say in Kabul, the capital, which is relatively safe, the guys in Tarin Kowt have artillery, they have attack helicopters, they have armored vehicles. It's a heavy and heavily armed reconstruction team as far as these things go.